In today's discussion video, Digimon has honestly come a long way, and though I briefly touched on unifying archetypes and also creating self-contained archetypes into core sets, there are many topics to explore when it comes to thinking about how the game has evolved, and where it could go in the future. To that end, today's video was mostly inspired by the fact that level 3 Digimon have transitioned roles multiple times in the history of the card game. But before we dive into that, I want to do a quick merch plug on the newest sleeves that I have for the channel. Introducing the Chaos Wolf and Dragon Order sleeves. If you have interest in these sleeves, you can click on my Square Shop link in the description of this video. If this video hits 100 likes, I'll start dropping some clues for Wave 2's goodies. And lastly, if you enjoy these types of videos, I hope you consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Today's topic again was mostly inspired by the fact that BT21 offered 3 additional level 3's that honestly didn't have any meaningful connection to the set. The ones I'm referring to being Sangomon, Sunarizamon, and Ghostmon. But before we get to these 3 specific Digimon, the role of level 3 Digimon have changed substantially from what they used to be. If you go back as early as the starter decks, Digimon were typically divided into 2 specific classes. Vanilla Digimon were Digimon that had no effects or inheritables, which meant that these Digimon either had a higher than normal DP stat line or a ridiculous cheap Digivolution cost, or a really cheap play cost. And in the earliest forms of the Digimon card game, the only other kind of Digimon either had an inheritable, a when digivolving effect, or a your turn effect. The first core set of the Digimon card game would largely introduce searching for the card game. And while other card games let you outright pick up your deck and find a card, Bandai's system more so looked at revealing a set number of cards from the top of the deck to meet certain criteria. This is where on-play effects became one of the first things to happen, in which you could be like Agumon and search for tamers off the top 5 cards. Other searchers adding all yellow tamers, or a Digimon with a specific condition. At the time, Gabumon was probably considered the best level 3 due to its replacement effect that drew you more cards. And yes, before we proceed further into this video, I will be again using a lot of examples from Agumon and Greymon. It's because of level 3 Digimon that early on in the Digimon card game, there were a lot of players utilizing them for not just digivolving, but hard slamming them for their semi-cheap cost at times for Rookie Rush. And while searching for tamers or higher level Digimon was a particularly great thing about level 3's, the first generic searcher to debut in the card game would be Zubamon and Ludomon. Digimon's introduction of archetype-specific level 3's would pave way for what would arguably be a quick-growing number of Digimon. Remember, some of the earliest level 3's Digimon could only add 1 card, but for these Digimon, it was 2. In the case of Zubamon and Ludomon from BT3, this meant that you could add 1 Ragnar Lordmon and 1 Digimon card with the Legend Arms traits. However, there weren't enough members to make the deck work. Not to mention you either had to black base it or red base it. Thankfully, times have changed in which this is no longer a problem. BT4 would continue the hype, adding not just a hybrid Digimon, but a corresponding tamer to the hybrid colors as well as Flamemon and Strabimon. The birth of archetype-specific cards boomed in the Digimon card game in BT5, adding members like Agumon and Gabumon as well who would find not just their mainline Digimon, but that top-end Omnimon as well. But with BT7, this is where the Digimon card game would forever change, introducing not just one of these searchers, but 3. With the introduction of Flamemon, Strabimon, and Dorumon, this introduced 3 searchers for their respective decks that could reveal a number of cards from the top of the deck and then add a specific Digimon or Tamer. Now while you could only add 1 card versus 2, the bigger trade-off here was that these Digimon also had an inheritable effect. Moving to everyone's favorite Digimon, it's no wonder I easily use Agumon as an example for this video. After all, with BT21's release, there are currently 42 Agumons including the Shine Greymon subvariants, Snow, Expert, and Fake Experts as well. But how many roles can one have? The beauty of Agumon is that players from the beginning would recognize that a Searcher Agumon was strong, and Agumon X variants helped with even more searching. But when BT14 rolled around, it rolled into one of the most powerful Agumons in the game, that could free Evo in a Greymon if you had a Tai Kamiya in play. Frankly, this is the closest thing that we'll ever get to a Digimon in the Greymon line that quote-unquote reduces its Digivolution cost. Coupled by the fact that we have a BT5 Greymon that can gain a memory if you have an Agumon in the Digivolution sources. Surprisingly, Agumon would not only have searchers, but many ways to recycle their Digimon. This is why I love the BT17 variant, which allows you to promote out of the rays and pull back a Greymon card. but even the newer variant from BT21 has its uses when you're looking to climb into a Dragonkin variant of the deck. And while Agumon is just a small example of a Digimon with multiple uses in searching, for evoing and recycling, I really appreciate that Bandai is moving more Digimon into the floodgate position. Terriermon held the green memory blocker for the longest time, but the Adventure Trait starter decks introduced 2 of its members into floodgate positions as well. And although they are Adventure Trait, Tentomon can presently double in not just the Adventure deck, but Insectoid as well. Likewise with Gomamon, you now introduce a Searcher Floodgate in Sea Beast based decks. It's because of the way that Bandai has handled the design of archetypes that does the inclusion of a new Liberator level 3 really change or fix up the deck. Honestly, I have to say the answer is yes. Even with decks like Fenrir-Lugumon for the longest time, this deck had issues running non-Dark Animal and SOC trait level 3s, which is why ultimately for the longest time it hinged on Ukomons to really make its place to find level 3s and Tamers. But with not just 1, but 2 more copies, this is one reason why Fenrir-Lugumon is able to perform so well, even though its best level 6 Digimon just got hit. But in regards to the Liberator decks, BT21 brings new members for Sangomon, Sunarizamon, and Ghostmon. In BT19 with Ryugumon's introduction, we saw Sangomon and Swimmon make its debut, but with only 2 level 3s, and these being the only good Aqua trait level 3s, there weren't any great sea animal Digimon to lean on either. Which is why for the most part in this particular deck, my 3rd level 3 always went to Gomamon, even if it couldn't be searched. But now with a new Sangomon, you now have a perfect 12 level 3 lineup for the deck that not only repeats the same inheritable as the Searcher, but one that reduces the Digivolution cost as well when you Digivolve into its archetype-specific trait level 4s. Likewise, in EX8, with the introduction of the Mineral Trait Pyramidimon, this introduced the Sunarizamon Searcher along with a semi-decent Gotsumon. But again, with just these 2 Digimon, there wasn't a 3rd mineral level trait Digimon for you to utilize, which meant you had to either use another Gotsumon from the olden days, or a generically black level 3 Digimon like Chikuriamon that could be your floodgate. But again, with the introduction of BT21, this opened up the pathway for a second Sunarizamon that would ultimately help with reducing Digivolution costs. And last but not least, Necromon deck started with a Searcher Ghostmon and a basic Candlemon to back up the entire line. Keep in mind though, that besides Ghostmon, there wasn't another level 3 to really back you up for the rest of the deck. Which meant for most players, you were either playing Psychmon, Gazimon, or a Digimon with an inheritable of an on-deletion gain 1 memory like Tsukaimon. But with BT21, you can maximize your efficiency and consistency with the newest Ghostmon. It's because of the attention that Bandai gives to newer decks that largely, they become more fleshed out in just 1 or 2 sets now, versus waiting forever for support. Generally, what are some level 3 Digimon that Bandai has released that you really loved? What has given you the support, and do you like that the roles have expanded beyond Searchers, and more so as archetypal or tribal? Let me know your thoughts on this particular topic, because like always, there's more discussion to be had about the Digimon card game. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.